Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon with Campbell Fitness. Today's video is going to be a shoe review on the Adidas Powerlift trainers, which are something that I've been using for the past month. I'm sure you guys have noticed in my weight training videos, maybe you've seen them in my gym bag video, maybe you saw pictures I posted them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Regardless, I've been getting a lot of questions asking if they're any good and can I do a review on them. So if you haven't been able to tell by the title already or from my brief intro, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to do a shoe review for you, which sounds like it could be a terrible wrap, and normally I would wrap that just for entertainment value, but I think we can all agree that there's already some pretty awful rappers out there in the fitness community here on YouTube, and that's definitely not something I want to throw my hat into the ring on. Now, as far as this goes, in order to give you some context about where I'm coming from in this whole shoe game, is the fact that in previous years, what I wore was, first of all, Nike Air Maxes for a long time. In fact, oddly similar to the ones I'm wearing on my shirt right now as I sit here and rub my nipple. Hopefully you guys don't get too turned off or too turned on by that. But I wore those for a long time, and then I upgraded to some New Balance Minimus MX-20s. By the name, you can probably tell they're minimalist shoes, and I actually did a video review on those as well. You can find that on my channel. I'll throw it up on an annotation on the screen right now for your convenience. But what I want to focus right now on is the Adidas Powerlift trainers. These are kind of an entry-level shoe to solely weight training shoes. So I'm going to talk about specifically shoes built for weight training right now. And I use the term solely only because I like bad puns and we're talking about shoes as is. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep that in there. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably more familiar with the bigger brother of these shoes, the Adi Power, or even its distant cousin, the Nike Romaleos. So those shoes are viewed as probably as better weight training shoes. And you might ask, well, why don't you do reviews on those? And the answer is because those shoes cost $200. These shoes only cost $90. However, if you're interested in those shoes, Matt Ogus uses the Nike Romaleos. He did a review on them. Chris Lovato also uses the Adi Power, who did a review on those as well. So you can go ahead and check out their channels if you're interested in those shoes. I figured I'd start off with a more entry-level way because this is probably what most of you guys would be looking at to begin with, something that won't break the bank. So again, these cost me $90 shipped directly to me, which did include shipping. So not too bad in my opinion. Now for these, one of the first things you're going to notice is these do have a little bit of a raised heel. So for me, coming from the New Balance Minimus, which was a very flat-soled shoe with not very much rise in it, that was the first thing I noticed. Now, the reason that a lot of these weightlifting specific shoes are going to have a raised heel is because it's going to help you perform your lifts better. So obviously, if you've ever had trouble squatting or getting deep enough, a common tip, besides working on your mobility and your flexibility, is to just put some 5-pound plates beneath your heels to raise them up because that's going to help you. So that's actually built into these shoes a little bit. One of the things you'll notice with a lot of these weight training shoes, depending on the models you go with, the heel heights will be a lot different. So for these ones, they only have a 0.6 of an inch heel height, which for me is great because not only do they help with squats, but for me with deadlifts, it's still something that I can use and I don't feel like I'm overly hunched over or leaning too far forward. Because a lot of times with deadlifts, people prefer a flatter soled shoe because they're actually trying to pull back and push back as they complete the lift. So for these, I like these because they're very versatile in the fact that I can use them for both squats and deadlifts. You can actually see it in some of my training videos, again, as I've already mentioned, if you're interested in seeing them in action. Now, besides that fact, probably the biggest benefit for me as far as these shoes go is the fact that you just feel a lot more stable in them. Meaning, the benefit for me going back 2 years looking at my other training videos I've posted in the past with both the Nikes and the New Balance is I can see how my feet react in those shoes while I'm performing various lifts. And one of the things that I really notice is the fact that I'm all over the place as far as my feet go. Meaning I don't look very stable at all. And when you're lifting heavy weights and you're trying to really get a good grip on the ground, so to say, either to pull weight off the ground or go down deep in a squat, stability really comes into play. So these actually have stability plates built in them, as do most of these weightlifting shoes. You'll find different materials in the heel, but regardless, they're all very solid. They don't have a lot of bend. There is some in the toe box, but as far as the heel and stuff goes, you're not going to find a lot of flexibility. That's why these really wouldn't be good for anything else besides weight training. You're not going to want to go run a mile in these or anything like that. They're specifically meant to lift some heavy ass weight. So as far as these shoes go, I don't really care what they look like, although I will say that these are pretty stylish, minus the fact that it does have this little dumbbell right here on the strap on front. It does say weightlifting down here too, but otherwise it's a pretty simple shoe. You just have simple soles right here. I'll try to flash some pictures on the screen as I'm going through this review right now just so you get an idea of what they look like. But to cut it short and cut it simple, these are a great addition to my lifting library, so to say. I highly recommend them if you have the $90 sitting around. If you're interested in getting more weight training shoes specific, these would be a good way to start instead of plunking down twice as much for maybe something like the Romaleos or even the Adidas Powers. You're not really breaking the bank. You could also just put away some of that supplement money you've been spending on useless crap out there, and you could probably buy these pretty quickly without even realizing you're saving money for it. So as far as these shoes go, highly recommend them, love them a lot, been using them for a month. I will probably eventually upgrade to the next higher level as well, but for now, these are doing a great job. So I hope you guys appreciate the review. Thanks for always watching. In the meantime, stay big.